Hey guys, as promised, we're doing a continuation of our breakdown slash decoding of Squid Game and relating it to themes that we found in the survival game genre and in our society as a whole as well. We hope that you subscribe if you haven't already and like and share this video. From childhood, people receive anti-human messaging that promotes the idea that not only are we as individuals insignificant and disposable, but humans as a whole are as well. Many of our first experiences with anti-humanism are found in the seemingly innocent cartoons and movies we watched as children, where the villains often spoke of humans as being, quote, mere mortals or pathetic, weak, and replaceable.
Man, the people look like ants from up here.
They are ants, Michael. They are ants.
As we consume movies and shows into our adulthood, many of us find ourselves siding with the quote bad guys while overlooking how little they'd actually think of us in reality. And for those of us who rooted for the good guys, we did so because the things we loved about them are things that we don't see in ourselves or things we admire and wish we possessed. The protagonists we uplift in fiction are the ones born with unusual powers like Eleven of Stranger Things or super intelligence like Sherlock Holmes. Most people don't watch Marvel films or Star Wars movies and honestly see themselves in the heroes. Although you may be drawn to a character due to a shared personality trait or quirk, deep down we believe that these people are better than the average human. Spider-Man couldn't be great on his own. He was a skinny, nerdy, glasses-wearing college kid. He had to be bitten by a radioactive spider to be great, which makes it look as though Peter Parker isn't a hero, Spider-Man is. Batman and Iron Man had to be billionaires, with access to technology many of us could only dream of. Superman was an alien, and X-Men are super-powered mutants. The characters we love in fiction possess some sort of skill or trait that compensates for our perceived natural human weaknesses and worthlessness, something that separates them from the quote average person. We may have been too young to understand or even be offended by these concepts as children, but rest assured, they remain in our consciousness well into adulthood. Throughout our lives, we unconsciously internalize feelings of never being enough. And can we help it when it's constantly being shoved down our throats that we're not good enough?
One part of anti-humanist propaganda is the devaluation of human life. This is often done by not seeing each human being as spirit incarnate, but seeing human beings as objects or cattle at best. It's done by equating each human life, something priceless and invaluable, to an arbitrary sum of money, for example, like in the show Squid Game, where each player's life is equated to 1 million won, hence the 456 million won prize in the piggy bank for the winner. The show constantly dehumanizes people and displays anti-human messages. The elite class who make bets on the contestants see their lives as entertainment. The frontman is outright with it when he tells Gi-hyun, "You bet on horses. It's the same here, but we bet on humans. You're our horses." A very interesting thing to say, considering there's actually a study run by psychologists which you can find at the scientificamerican.com website called How Wealth Reduces Compassion, which found that as riches grow, empathy for others seems to decline. The study found that people who drove luxury cars were more likely to cut off other drivers and speed past pedestrians even after making eye contact with them so that they can't cross the road. There was one test that featured a jar of candy. Test subjects were told that they could take home as much as the candy as they like, and the rest would go to needy children. The study found that the people who made more money were likely to take significantly more candy than their counterparts, leaving behind much less candy for the children. In another test subjects were made to watch a video that featured cancer patients while their heart rates were monitored. The people in the test who earned less money connected more to the video. They were found to pay more attention to the suffering patients, revealing more compassion for human suffering than their wealthy counterparts. So it really is no wonder that wealthy men in Squid Game devalued and lacked basic compassion for their fellow man. Not only did the rich men devalue and dehumanize the players, but the games themselves forced contestants to participate in this dehumanization too, by determining the worth of their lives and others based on merits like their profession, family, education levels, plans for the future, etc. During the marble game, when Sang-woo found himself losing, he tried to justify why his life should be preserved instead of Ali, because, quote, "I have a family." To which Ellie replied, "I have a family too." These statements tell us that in this game, the lives of people without families are less valuable, that a person with no family's death could be justified in some instances and even understandable. This is not only something society teaches us, but something that we internalize as well.
During Saebyok and Jiyeon's discussion, Jiyoung asked her about her family and what she wanted to do with the money. Saebyok revealed that she had parents and a brother who she wanted to help, and mentioned her dream of going to Jeju Island. When Jiyoung spoke of her own past, she revealed that she had no last name nor close family. Jiyeon also disclosed that she had been to jail. On top of that, she didn't seem to know what she wanted to do with her life, nor what she wanted to do with the money. It was for these reasons that she purposely dropped her marble and lost the game. Jiyeon didn't even throw her marble and give herself a fighting chance. Instead, she chose to sacrifice her life for one she viewed as inherently more valuable. This is internalized worthlessness, anti-humanism turned inward. Subconsciously, for Jiyoung, one's worthiness as a human being is conditional, meaning only when certain standards are met is one's life worth preserving. To her, Saebyok closely met those standards, yet because Jiyeon failed to meet those standards herself, she could rationalize her own death. And this is not a critique of her character at all. This is how society teaches us all to feel about ourselves. How many people feel like they're failing in life because they haven't yet found their purpose? How many adults feel depressed because they aren't married or they haven't started a family? How many people have ever felt broken or even insignificant because they grew up in a difficult household? This is no mistake. This is how we've been conditioned to feel. It was interesting seeing it displayed in the show. Though some people only just learned about the survival game or death game genre through Squid Game, it's actually not a new concept. This genre is an old one, older than even Hunger Games. Squid Game screenwriter and director Hwang Dun-hyuk was inspired by the book-turned-film Battle Royale and the anime Kaiji, both written by Japanese creators. Want to know what all these survival game movies and shows have in common? Artificial scarcity. Artificial scarcity is when shortages are created purposefully for no other reason than to create fear, division, and violence. It's an excuse that justifies population reduction by any means, when in reality there are plenty of resources to go around. In Squid Game, for instance, there was plenty of money left for the winner, Gi-hyun, who didn't even end up spending it. Other contestants who competed for the money simply wanted to be able to provide for their families or travel. None of that cost tens of millions of dollars. When asked what they truly wanted in life, most people say, "I just want to be comfortable." Why? Because most people are not inherently greedy. Each day, we are reminded by the news that Earth's resources are depleting. Yet many fail to see that shortages, scarcity, and unsustainability stem from the billionaire and trillionaire class wanting more and more, not the average person who just wants to live. In reality, the average human is so valuable and full of so much potential. We are being suppressed and stunted intentionally by the bad actors who run this matrix. We all have talents and skills that can benefit us and the world around us, yet school does not allow us to necessarily focus on them because school is a factory meant to produce workers. It's not made to create creators and inventors. It makes you walk in lockstep and puts you in a box. You learn to take commands and output work like a machine.
And then before the 75 years of the validity of your birth certificate is up, they expect you to retire and make room for the new drones. How then are you rewarded after ensuring the maintenance of the so-called elite's machine for all these years? Well, typically, they make the elderly waste away in homes, away from the rest of society, locking up the elderly with life experiences. They're alone so that they can't teach their wisdom onto the next generation. Many of these people don't even end up gaining very much wisdom by the time that they get so old because they've spent their lives working, toiling, and too busy trying to survive. In truth, we weren't too shocked about the concept of Squid Game because there's been countless shows and movies and the like just like this over the years. It's their attempt to make you devalue yourself. All the gore and graphic violence is completely unnecessary, but they put that imagery out there for the collective consciousness, which is all of us, to consume, just to show how little you're worth. 1 million won, really? How easily you can die and how little you matter.
Disturbingly enough, we as the viewers also participate in the dehumanization of our fellow human beings. By simply watching survival game and death game shows and movies in the comfort of our home with snacks and nothing to lose, we're like the rich elite that sit up and watch the contestants for their own entertainment. They act almost like the stand-in characters for us in the show. We may not have their ruthlessness and indifference towards humanity. We may not have their extreme unnecessary wealth, but do we not choose our favorite players just as they did? Do we not cheer when our favorites win, even though that means the death of many others? And do we not mourn when our personal favorite characters lose? How many of you felt your heart stop for a split second during the game Honeycomb, when the time was nearly up and the guard demanded to see the umbrella candy in the man's lap? When he lifted his hands and revealed a broken umbrella, we knew his life was over. But when he lifted his head and it wasn't the main character, Gi-hyun, did you not feel a wave of relief wash over you when you realized Gi-hyun wouldn't be killed, but some random man? We're trained to see that some people matter more than others, when in reality, everyone's life is equal. If you knew that man's backstory, you'd care for him just as much. The scene between Ji-hyun and Se-byuk was sad, but also disturbing. In the end, Ji-hyun, who did not even get a last name in the show, sacrificed her life because, quote, "you have a reason to live." Because she came from an abusive home, did not have family connections at the time, had been to jail, and was unsure what to do with her life, she decided her life meant less than another person's. We all have a purpose in life, whether we know what it is right this minute or not. Your life is valuable simply because you're alive.
Finally, the survival game genre encourages us to degrade and dehumanize ourselves. There are real-life survival games that we play. We are willing to lose our dignity for a pittance. Shows like Wipeout and Fear Factor kind of come to mind. We do it every time we devalue ourselves and each other based on factors like money or education levels, marriage or family status. We do it every time we disregard someone's suffering because it's not someone we are personally connected to. The survival game genre not only reflects our society's mindset back at us, but it further solidifies that reality if we consume it unconsciously. Be careful of the content that you take into your mind because you're always manifesting. You manifest both what you want and what you fear, and what you believe. Squid Game is the most successful show on Netflix. Imagine millions of people all concentrating on the same thing, putting their energy into it, and envisioning it. What are we collectively manifesting? Is it a future that you would want to be a part of? Or are we helping to create our own suffering?
We'll leave you with that question. There's so much more that we want to say, and we'll eventually follow this video up with one about low self-confidence, where it comes from, and how our society purposely grooms us into it. Until then, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment below. We'll see you in the next one.